Hello everyone, it's AG and today I will be talking about the manga adaptation of The Strange Tale of Panorama Island by Shueihiro Maruo, and this was translated from the Japanese to the English by Ryan Sands and Kyoko Nita. I would just like to thank Anxious Bookworm for recommending this because I had such a fun time reading this manga. Now before I start, as usual, I will be telling you about what I'm wearing. So this is actually a dress that I got from Reserved a very long time ago. I think the print is amazing because it's actually so hideous, but at the same time it works so well. And yeah, the shorts were a hand-me-down from my sister. Okay, let's get to the manga. The Strange Tale of Panorama Island is a manga adaptation of a short story written by Edogawa Rampo. For those who might not be quite familiar with Japanese literature, Edogawa Rampo was a 20th century Japanese writer who is considered to be the father of Japanese mystery writing. He was heavily inspired by Arthur Conan Doyle and Edgar Allan Poe, the latter from who he took the Japanese pronunciation of his name as a pseudonym, Edogawa Rampo. So yeah, if you pick up this manga or any other piece of Edogawa's work, you will find influences of and references to Poe and his work. Okay, so The Strange Tale of Panorama Island is centered around a man called Hitomi Hirosuke. He's a fairly unsuccessful writer and struggles to pay rent. Then one day his editor stops by to tell him that his friend from his time at university has passed away from an asthmatic attack. His editor refers to the friend as your brother Genzaburo Komoda. That is because Komoda and Hirosuke were the spitting image of one another. The only real difference between them was that Hirosuke was very poor and Komoda was very well off, seeing that he came from a powerful and well-respected family. After his editor leaves, Hirosuke comes up with a plan to impersonate Komoda and basically take over his life. He's inspired by a story written by Poe called The Premature Burial, in which the narrator suffers from catalepsy, which causes him to randomly fall into a death-like trance, and as a result he develops a fear of being buried alive. So to cut to the chase, Hirosuke fakes his own death and blames it on the death of the Emperor Taisho, and thus the end of the Taisho era. He successfully takes over the identity of Komoda, and he decides to construct this huge amusement park targeted at adults and on a remote island. And that's kind of like what this manga is all about. Okay, first of all, I have to tell you what a high quality manga this truly is. The price is roughly that of 2 pieces of manga, but it definitely is worth the money. This just complements the manga as a whole because there are some huge panels with amazing detail that just grab you. For instance, the first 2 pages is a huge drawing of a beautiful garden and birds. So if you don't enjoy the story, you can at least treat your eyes on some stellar craftsmanship. The manga definitely has a macabre feeling to it, especially during the time that Hirosuke is digging up Komoda's body. The panels were super eerie and like the Poe vibes were just cranked up to the max with all of the ravens flying around. Hirosuke also has this fear that Komoda still might be alive, and that kind of reminded me of The Telltale Heart. At some point he also notices that Komoda has a false tooth, which basically means that he also has to have a false tooth. So he ends up pulling out his tooth, and it's just so gross. It's really disgusting. If you are like me and can't stand to see like joints being broken or things being pulled out of bodies, then you will most definitely get chills from this. For me, this was definitely one of the most harrowing parts of the manga. Also, one specific thing that I really liked about this part was the way in which Maruo juxtaposed the horror of this scene with beauty. Here you have Hirosuke digging up a body, and then there's this random panel of a grasshopper that gets interjected, and then when you turn the page you just get shocked by the horror of seeing Komoda's dead body. And I thought that that was just a great setup, and it really added to the shock of seeing the body. After that, the manga continues to show how Hirosuke tries to fool all of the people around him. And of course, not without a lot of stress, and I don't really want to go into this much further just because I don't want to spoil things for people who might consider picking this one up. But anyway, one of the most exciting things for me to see was the amusement park. This manga is just filled with huge panels that are beautifully drawn with like stunning buildings and just amazing scenery, and that served the image of the park so well. I definitely just had a blast looking at these stunning images. Anyway, as I was nearing the end of the manga, I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was reading this in bed and just waiting and waiting to the point that I was like, darn it, this dude really is going to get away with this, isn't he? And then something happened that just made me go... like the guy in the like rap battle scene, you know? And then after that, I turned the page and it was just like, the end. And I was just like, what the heck just happened? I was so in shock. I literally just yeeted the manga to the other side of the bed because I was just so shocked about the ending. Like, I couldn't even like compute what had just happened. And I think that's kind of like the beauty of Edogawa Rampo's his stories, because many of these have like this amazing twist at the end that just make you go like, what the heck just happened? I had the same reaction when I was reading his story, The Human Chair, and also The Red Chamber. So if you're interested in those type of stories, I would definitely recommend Japanese Tales of Mystery and Imagination, which he wrote. It's like a terrific short story collection. Also, I should note there are a few panels that are a bit mature, but if you're someone like me who doesn't really care for that in stories, it's not that big of a deal. You can easily skip over it if you really aren't interested in seeing that type of stuff, and you won't really lose anything from the story because those scenes don't really add much to the narrative. So yeah, that is my opinion on The Strange Tale of Panorama Island. Let me know if you've read it or if you're interested. And yeah, I think that's about it. Either way, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoy the content that I make, perhaps consider joining my Patreon. I run a monthly book club there where we read diverse classics from all over the world, and you can also just support me by donating a coffee or just by liking, subscribing and commenting. And yeah, like I said before, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video.